Hi folks, you're with Tassus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this essay as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the concept of marriage, or any sort of male-female, or any relationship, I guess, but particularly male-female relationships, that it's meant to be cooperation. You sort of pull in the same direction. You pool your resources for the betterment of both of you. And it's, I guess, basic economics, that if you look at all the tasks that you need to perform in a relationship to make it economically and otherwise successful, then you need to put your heads together, put your resources together, and each do what you can do to make the relationship successful. And again, this could be a kind and loving place for your children to grow up, or kind and loving to each other, for goodness sakes. Acquiring assets, having enough money to retire in comfort, having something that you can leave behind for your children, all of these things. So by the more efficient and effective and organized and focused you are, the more likely to be successful in some or all of those areas. And it goes without saying, it's a statement of the obvious that that's. Now, I look at relationships around me, and I look at sort of, assuming they're not going to inherit lots of win lottery or something like that, but people who are focused and cooperate and think the best of each other, have faith and trust in one another, these sorts of things, they're far more likely to succeed on those fronts than people who are not. And if people are pulling in different directions, trying and it only takes one of the parties to be difficult and obnoxious, or to drag their feet, or to try and spoil things, or undermine the actions of the other. It doesn't take much for the whole exercise to come crashing down. And you see this in certainly I see it in marriages where she wants to be excessively greedy and grasping and so on. So he thinks, well, it's not worth me working. The only reason I bust my ass is for the betterment of the family and the children. And the harder I work and the more money I make, the greedier she becomes. So why should I put in this sort of effort? Why should I work this hard? There's no point to it. She's going to undermine, that type of thing. And so then he sort of slows down and just works the minimum. She's outraged by this. No, you had to make more and more money so I can spend it, and so on. And so things can spiral out of control if people aren't pulling in the same direction. So I'm going to talk about a few little vignettes here, and just indicate how socially destructive it is. And this is really the point of the video. This idea that marriage, or any gender relationship between men and women, that it's actually a power struggle, a fight to the death, and only one can win, and if you're not, hey girls, boss girl, if you're not winning, that means you're losing, and so on. So it creates a level of quite needless confrontation, and the expenditure of energy and time and angst and hand-wringing over what's a struggle for power, rather than a cooperation and a collaboration, which is what it should be, or ideally needs to be, if the relationship is to be successful. Now, with people that burn through lots of relationships, assuming they're not filthy rich or something, but people who burn through lots of relationships, you can see this complete inability to cooperate and collaborate. In their cognizance, if I cooperate and collaborate with him, then I'm surrendering to the patriarchy, to the misogyny. So I'm a strong woman, I'm a girl boss, I'm going to fight back. Whatever he suggests and whatever he wants to do, I'll just say no. Or whatever he wants to do, I'll do the opposite, and so on. And if I'm doing the opposite and saying no to everything, it means I have the power. I am a kick-ass girl boss. But wait a minute. Can you see the damage this is causing? Well, it doesn't matter, because it's his fault and he did it. So so I'll go through just a few of these, and I've made just a couple of bullet point notes here. So I know these people. It's a married couple. Now the husband got a pay rise. He's quite an industrious, conscientious sort of guy, and but he gets a pay rise. And as far as she's concerned, this pay rise is not good news. I mean, you'd think for any household, one of the partners gets a pay rise, and this, oh wow, that's great. Now we can do this or do that, or we can. Now he wants to put the pay rise money into a fund for the kids' education, to put them through school and college, and so that's what he wants to do. Now that's he wants to directly invest in the family and its betterment. That's what he wants to do. So you'd say, as a wife and a mother, I mean, they're your children too, for goodness sakes. You'd say, as a wife and mother, that, well, this is fantastic. Yep, let's do that. We can assure or help or underwrite the future of our children. Good, great stuff. But instead, she sees it from a completely, in an ideological sense, from a completely different point of view. Now he's got a pay rise. This has changed the power dynamic of the relationship. So he's now sort of doing better. He's well thought of by other people. This kind of, as she sees it, it reduces her control over him. And he might think he's better than me, this sort of stuff. So this is actually bad that he's got a pay rise. It's created an imbalance in the power relationship. He's now more powerful than me. And she's looking at it as a feminist ideological concept here. He's now more powerful than me. So, patriarchy and da-da. So I have to fight back. I am a strong woman. I'm a strong woman, and I have to fight back against this. And how do I fight back, though? Well, what I do is I demand that he spends money on me. But wait, stop. He's spending money on the children. They're your children too. That's a good thing, isn't it? No. The power dynamic has changed. He must spend money on me to rebalance this power dynamic. So I want him to buy things for me. I want a new lounge suite. I want a new this. I want a new that. But the lounge suite's not even a year old. Doesn't matter. If I can get him to spend money on it, force him to spend money on it, badger him and pester him and give him absolute shit until he does, then only then do I know I have regained the power level of power control I need to be assured that I am his equal. And that's it. So why would you waste? That's why waste of. It doesn't matter if it's a waste of money. We're talking power here, power in the relationship, and I am a strong woman exercising my power. So this is the attitude she puts forward, and we've had she's more talking to my wife than me, but we've sort of had a number of conversations about this, and she can't perceive that she is in the wrong even in the slightest. Now, I've suggested a few times, but he's spending money on your children. That's his proposal, to spend money on your children. How can you see that as an imbalance to the power? You both have created the children. He wants to spend money on those children you both create. That's not a bad thing, is it? I mean, it's rather selfless. He's not saying that the money should be spent on him personally or anything like that. But no, silly man. She didn't say that to me, but her response sort of implied that he's making this extra money, which gives him more social power within the relationship. That's her take on it, by the way. And then he is getting to decide how that money is spent. So it's like a double power thing. He's making more money, which makes him more powerful in the relationship, again, in her cognizance. And then he's telling me how he's going to spend that money, which means he's now, he's mansplaining as well as being a patriarchal. Now, I completely don't see it that way. So, if he went out to spend money only on himself, her argument would, or if because of the pay rise, he was telling her that she was an idiot, or something. Like if there are other factors occurring, but none of that's the case. He's very much the family man. So she is, it comes across to me, she's exploiting his good nature and his dedication to the family unit, of which she's part, is dedicating to the betterment of the family unit. She's seeing that not as a dedication, not as a sense of duty and obligation and a commitment. She isn't seeing it that way. She's seeing it through the modern feminist ideological power sort of vacuum. She's seeing it through that lens, and instead of looking at her own inadequacies, of which there are many in my view, instead of looking at that, she says, no, I have to regain control. I want respect. He's getting a pay rise. That's making me feel diminished in some way. And therefore, I have to regain the power in this. And it's very sad because you can see it's on the downward spiral to spiraling out of control. And already it's had an effect on him where he's wishing he never had the pay rise. He's well, why am I working hard? Why am I going out of my way here? So this is actually having a negative effect. Now she doesn't see it that way, but she sees the reduction. If he got if the pay rise got taken off him, for example, if you got a pay reduction, she would see that as her then increasing her power in the relationship, which is a good thing. It's increasing her control and these sorts of things. So I'd be surprised if they last out the next 18 months, and then it's going to be haggling over the result. Now she can behave this badly with some degree of confidence, if and I think it will. It won't be too far away. If they get divorced and head off in a separate direction, she can be 99% guaranteed that she'll get the house and the children, and he's going to have to pay her generous child support. Now that's so she sort of heads into these power struggles that she is creating. They don't exist. They all exist in her mind, and that she's creating. That if they do go into divorce, that she'll be the sole and primary beneficiary. He certainly won't be. And now, but again, it'll rest very much on his preparedness to cooperate here. Now, I think he's got to the point where he just sees her as she's just exploiting him. He's starting to see it that way. That anything he wants to do, she opposes. Any suggestion he makes, she wants to do the opposite. Anything at all. She thinks, well, if I do the opposite of what he wants or what he suggests, then I have power in the relationship. And so he's no, why am I bothering? So if the divorce does occur, which I'm pretty sure it will, then and he goes, well, screw it, I'm not going to work. I'll go and his parents have got a converted garage down the back of their place. It's like a small sort of 1-bedroom apartment type thing. What he might just go, as many men do, by the way, he'll just go and live there and get unemployment or checks or maybe work for cash and so on or whatever. Go and, I don't know, mow lawns or something. So that's what clean pulls. That's what he'll do, and so she'll get the free house and the kids, but the idea that she can get $3,000 a month in child support and alimony and that sort of thing, cash, tax all paid, plus a free house, and that view of the future there. I don't think that'll pan out. I think he'll just drop out and cease to be exploited. Now, the idea that these sort of behaviours are not only encouraged but actually heavily promoted and supported by the government all across the Western world is, I would argue, the prime source, certainly amongst white middle class people, it's the prime source of divorce and social dislocation, single motherhood amongst white middle class people, this sort of thing. And it's you see the difference between people who are trying to pull together and people who are pulling in opposite directions. But certainly from what I've seen, there are some exceptions. As a guy I know, the marriage, he's got a gambling habit, but there are in every case, pretty much every case I see, the person who's trying to spoil and disrupt and undermine is always the woman, and again, always coming out with feminist platitudes. Now, the next one is a relationship with this is a woman who'd be 20 years old, and they're not married, and she has the view that that the society is an oppressive, patriarchal, misogynistic society. That's why she hasn't got a well-paying, prestigious job. Is it because she's got lots of body piercing? Is it because she's lazy as fuck? Is it because she's a high school dropout? Is it because she wouldn't work in a, wouldn't work up a sweat in a pressure cooker? Is it, is it because no. The reason is because of the patriarchy and so on. Now she's been encouraged in this view, so she's latched onto a boy or a young man, and his parents are doing all right. They own their own house, and they're both still working, and they're doing okay. And they're not rich, but so she's managed to kind of shame and guilt trip him that really she's a victim of the patriarchy. He's a beneficiary of the patriarchy as well as white privilege, no less. And so it's his duty and obligation to pay for whatever she wants. So she wants to go away on a vacation to the mountains, then he has to pay. Now, he doesn't have a well-paid, he's doing college, but he doesn't have a well-paying part-time job. So his parents are paying for it. Now, she skites about this as if, look how much power I have in this relationship. I may be lazy and useless and stupid, but boy, do I know how to work the system. So his parents are paying for them to go away. I mean, the guy goes too, obviously, but the parents are paying for them to go away. And now she wants to go overseas for a vacation, and she's working on him, trying to shame and blame him for the patriarchy and all that sort of stuff to get the parents to pay for them to go on. I mean, she didn't like the car he had, apparently, so he went out and got a new car that his parents paid for it. And she had a birthday party a little while ago, and she managed to get him to pay for, or his parents again, to pay for that. So she invited all her friends, and I don't like his friends, so I just made sure they weren't invited. And so now you can say she's just a manipulative little shit, but the basis for it, or the attitude that underwrites it, is this feminist thing of how do you know you're not being oppressed by these evil men? Well, the only way you can actually be totally sure is if you're in complete control. If you decide, that sort of thing. If you say no to anything he wants to do, or you make all the decisions and then make him pay for it, then you know you're in control, and then only then do you know you're not being oppressed. So it's infantile and ridiculous, destructive, and quite malicious, I think, in many ways. So that's her view of that, and that's how she perceives relationships. It is a power struggle, and only one can win. The next vignette is okay. His comes back to the ex-husband gets quite a big promotion at his work. She's working and at an affirmative action type job, but she they got a decent pay, but she doesn't really like it. I mean, it's just a pain in the ass. So she, when she knows, he doesn't tell her he's got the big promotion, but unfortunately the way it works is the alimony and child support people tell her, hey, look, your ex-husband Billy Bob there, he's got a nice big pay rise and promotion, so you're going to get lots more money. Oh wow, goody. And so she looks at the extra amounts, and she calculates that if she stops work, then if she doesn't work then, and looks at his income, that his income will effectively cover about all of what hitherto was, if you like, both their incomes in terms of child support obligations and the like. So she, wow, okay, if I stop work now, I don't have to go to work. I managed to get I stole his house with government help. I got a free house and so on. Then I can stop work and get all that money. And really what he'll now have to pay me, given he now has to pay the whole thing, is equivalent to, it's enough for me to live on and get by and have lots of leisure time and so on. So she does that, and he's onto the game though. And when he realizes how much he has to pay, then he realizes that financially he's fucked. He is screwed financially. He's got nowhere to go. There's no court. There's no place he can go, and so on. So he decides, well, screw that. I'll stop work, and so he does. And he lives rough and this sort of thing, but at least he's not being screwed anymore. And it comes back to the consent thing that if he's going to pay he never agrees when he get married that he's going to have to pay alimony and child support, unless it's pre-agreed and, with a mandatory prenup or something like that, that it is enforced under all. So, I mean, you imagine this if a man, other than someone who's up in the clouds and, love potion number 9 or something like that. If you present an agreement like this is a written agreement. Okay, look, dude, you want to get married, this sort of thing. These are your financial obligations. If the marriage falls over, you are financially fucked forever. Sign here, and you have to agree to that. Now, I think there'd be very few men. I mean, some would perhaps, or the rich men would, but they'd look at that and go, you know what? I think I'll pass on that. So if you wanted to reduce the birth rate even further, and that would be, but at least it would be honest about what the government's going to do to the man if the relationship does dissolve. It comes back to the point of just on divorce, which isn't the case with them, but if it comes back to divorce, there's 3 categories of divorce. There's one is people who own and have nothing, and I've been into divorce courts to have a look at when the people are there. People are getting divorced and they have nothing. They've got children, but other than the clothes on their back, they own nothing at all. Maybe some shitbox car that's falling apart or something, but otherwise they own nothing at all. And you look at all the government, all the officials in the divorce court, they don't care. This is irrelevant. These people have nothing. Who gives a fuck? And they just go through the motions of filing bits of paper and pretending they care. And then the next case that comes in is a guy who owns a couple of houses, or maybe he's got a house and a block of land, or maybe a house and a good job or something like that. And it's like a bolt of electricity goes through the place when this guy comes in, bang, and they're out to get this motherfucker, this evil, patriarchal, misogynist motherfucker. They're out to get him and strip him of all his assets to make him pay. And these are the sort of words they use. We will make him pay. So there's all these screaming activists running around. But there are 3 categories of divorce. There's rich people who can get divorced when you're worth, you see these Hollywood divorce types, somebody's worth 50 million and they have to pay out, I don't know, 25 million in a settlement or something like that, then it's kind of, who cares? You've still got $25 million left. It's not like you're going to be on the bones of your ass. Not that you'd be happy about it, but there's enough money to go around where everyone's still going to be doing very well. Then you get the people, again, who have nothing. There's nothing to divide or to take. There's nothing for the ideological fanatics to chase after. But then you get the middle group where there's not enough money for 2 households. There's only enough money for 1. And in that case, I don't think divorce should be permissible, or the government provides money to put an extension on the house, whatever existing property, so that they can, you can build a wall in the middle of the house so there are 2 households on the same thing. But there is no way that the divorce should be allowed there, because that is only destruction. It only creates destruction at that point. The people with nothing, they're already fucked. The people who are rich can afford 2 or multiple households, but the people in the middle can't. And so it is only destructive. And there needs to be, I believe, legislation. If you haven't got enough money for 2 households, you can't get divorced, or you divide what you've got, or you attend counselling until such a time as you can find a way to get on together. It doesn't matter, but you're not going to economically destroy yourselves just because A doesn't like B, and or B's got the shits with A or something like that. That's it. So that would be my take on it. But the difference between family units where they are cooperating and they are focused, and where they're not, and where they're being as disruptive, or one of the parties is being disruptive and difficult as possible, the difference in outcomes is absolutely huge. And where that sort of, where you see that contrast, and again, on nearly every occasion, it's the woman who's causing the trouble, and doing so within the feminist ideological framework of seeing the relationship as a struggle for social power, not a place for cooperation and collaboration. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.